But the more refined or spiritual a person lives, the more this blossoms. And the grosser or more sensual or more grosser this happens, the more dependencies or grosser things get affected. So all of life is really about getting out of the gross animal that we are, and hopefully developing some maturity, some spirituality, some inner sense of purpose of life. And as we get that, the planets are like just roadmaps. But if we don't develop that spiritual thing in life, by the time we're 16, we're looking at life. If you don't have a sense of God or belief, life looks miserable because you're just going to die. So there are reasons why we're alive and things we have to grow into and grow up to. You know, so we come out of our mother, we come out of our backyard, we run into the rest of the world, and it's not the same as ours. Imagine. Now what? Everybody's puzzle. Doesn't matter what culture, what race, what this is there. But in a person's chart, regardless of race, culture, or place brought up, you can see these aspects, and then it gets you curious. So you can't define, you don't judge someone for the aspects, you go question someone, you go into it, you try and see how it's showing. And once you know how it's showing and you see the dependency, you can see what you have to work to undermine, to simplify. Okay, when Neptune comes to the sun is your confidence, your importance, your sense of where you're going to. It's your dramatic, I, me, lion, here I am in life. Roar. What's Neptune going to do to this? Neptune conjunct the sun. Hey, watch me roar. It's going to be very powerfully confident, and yet that confidence is going to have a vision attached to it. I'm going to be somebody. It really is this. It's like a dream of being the leader, or being really creative. I'm going to do this. It's going to be dreaming, but that dreaming to be that and going for it, you can make visions, you can make decisions about where you're going and be pushing things. And whoever's with you was almost having to pay for it and support you and carry you. So the sun is your heart and your sense of importance in life. What's Neptune going to do? It's going to confuse it. It's going to tempt it. It's going to put guilt on your heart, or fantasies around your heart. I'll save you, and you might not be able to save someone. I know what's right. I'm doing this because the sun's projecting this. But if you're feeling on it, you feel really guilt-ridden. Why bother? I couldn't do it. But it's not affecting your habits like the moon. It's affecting your heart, your purpose, your sense of confidence. It's tied up into complications or sorrows or guilt or expectations or great beliefs and dreams of trying to get better and trying to get better. So in that way, it's aspiring. It's an aspiring sign. But the negative side of it is it's hard to live up to your aspirations. It's hard for the sun to live up to the dreams, when really the sun's supposed to be the center and the dreams are supposed to align. So the sun could attract people to being dependent on him. The sun could become dependent on other people. It depends on the sign and the house and how it would show. But there's some confusing aspect around how that person is going into the future, about their sense of importance, about where they're going to, of who they're going to be. They're going to see it as a great vision. I got to go for this dream. Or they're going to see it as, I'll never be able to do that, or I messed it up, I couldn't do that, oh geez, this happened to me. Has this confusion and sorrow coming in. So the challenge is, you have a kid with this, you get them to do find some dedicated things to do, to be creative, but you don't want the feeling sorry for oneself or feeling lost. So you're fighting against those things, the disbelief. But also, if you're fanatically thinking you're leading everybody, you could be having a drink saying, this is great, get everyone else to be drinking with you or smoking up with you, and that may not be good. You end up with bad company. So there's romance, and it's very romantic sun, as Neptune's conjunct the sun, very idealistic, but gullible and naive. Who's real? Who's on the same wavelength? There's this credibility gap with the Neptune sun. What are you going to do with your life? There's the dream. How much would you live up to it? With the Neptune sun, there's a tendency to not. I'll take something else. I won't marry my first choice. I'll marry my second choice. Venus can do that. The sun can too. But once you've got a dependency or an expectation, it's going to affect your confidence and your pride and weaken it. Exaggerate it or weaken it. So now you have to look at people who have this and see and try and sense it. This otherness, this aloofness, this evasiveness, this dreaminess, this fanatic, to the sun, to the person's confidence. You find that people have it, and all of a sudden you say, look at that. And it can be different according to the sign or house, but it'll still be there. It's a unique quality. But if you're working with a person's chart, that you're almost working with sort of behind the scenes, and you're trying to make the sun be as best as it can without falling into negative Neptune factors. Try and be consistent at something. Be consistent, but help others. And so vanity gets magnified from Venus to the sun, Venus to Neptune, but the sun is your arrogance gets magnified, your confidence gets magnified to be really big, so big it's all bravado, or so small it never believes in itself. So it is a sort of theatrical purpose, but how do you find sincerity of purpose? How do you choose which cause is the right cause? How do you know when you feel good? You can feel great from doing a show on a stage, walk away from it, and then you feel down when you go home and be alone. Many people live for the stage. Ta-da! And they can live that stage, but they may not ground the information so they're getting the security at home. So there's a battle between Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun. They're all trying to make the person secure, valuable, perceptive, alert, and confident. And so much depends on how you put out what you put out and what comes back. What you put out will come back. So the outer planets they're the things, but the inner planet is really the psychological, spiritual, personal story of what you have to grow up out of to go into the world. So with the sun to Neptune, it's the temptations to choose something different or evasive, or why get a job? Why don't I just goof off? Or why don't I just travel or whatever? Like Neptune was big in 52, 53, and the kids born then, the fathers were weak. That we'll get to that with the Saturn. But whenever Neptune's in a sign for 15 years, anyone in that sign or the square signs of anyone in that mode of angular, fixed, or mutable is going to have a quality of this factor. They're going to have this aspect. So a Taurus, you're doing a chart for a Taurus 40 years ago is very different than doing a chart for a Taurus today or 20 years ago, because they would have different aspects to these other planets. Okay, so the inner ones are big matrix, Pandora's box, what's going on, all the different possibilities, all different pockets of reality. These are the inner qualities and coming to affect your confidence in what you're putting out. Are you putting out your belief, or you're trying to hide it, or you're trying to avoid it? I don't want to go where someone else is doing it. I have to do my own thing. But if I do my own thing, I'm going to be alone. But if I try to work with others, I have to be giving up my purpose or my confidence to be with other people. Different people respond differently to this. But there's a way of making it good, making it dedicated, making it creative, and working artistically, creatively, spiritually, towards using the Neptune. I mean, you could have the sun Neptune, your father wants you to go out to be a doctor, and you want to be a figure skater. Or wants you to play hockey, you want to be a figure skater. Like, just different frequencies are there, alternative things are around you. And how do you find what's sincerely going to be yours? That's the puzzle for the Neptune to the sun. When we start putting Neptune out to the outer planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which is how we gain experience, how we accomplish things, and how we understand what we've done and what we have to do. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so now we're going to the outer planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And Mars is our desire for experience. It's how we do things. It's our muscle tone. It's our force. It's our aggression. It's our adrenaline to make things happen, to get experience. So whether it's, I want to have a baby, I got to do this. To have a baby, I got to do this to have a job. I got to do this. There's so many things we have to do to get, if we have a desire for experience, it's affected by, in our personal chart, by our values, what we want and how we're thinking and how we're living. and what our confidence is. All those things mixed together like a salad dressing. And then we try and do things with that package. We're bringing that package of our personal stuff and we're putting it out in the world. Well, by the time we start using our Mars, everybody has a different personal package. And even with twins, the ascendant will be a degree or so different or something like this. There'll be slight differences, so it'll be more one than the other. But when you start putting energy out, it's a simple desire for space. It's not wrong to be strong or to be muscular or to be healthy or to be fit. You want your kids to be that. But there's a certain distance that being the jock or being the athlete can go. And there's many people aren't strong enough to be the total athlete. They'll have to settle to be part of this team or that team, or just keep athletics in their life or keep physically active. So depending on our strength or whatever, this is Mars. We all have our Mars trying to go out and do things. At first, it's our muscle tone in our body. Then it's how we use power and force. Then it's our pride. Then it's our sexuality and how we're prepared to satisfy the other person, what we're prepared to do to the other person to satisfy them. To say, if I'm doing this, they'll like this. So there's two forces with Mars. I'm doing this for you. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm giving the energy, I'm taking it back. People live and die on these exchanges. Usually you have to be prepared for one cycle to phase from one cycle to the next, from the putting out to the slowing down, putting out the energy and recharging. If Neptune hits your Mars, you're driving impaired. You're putting your energy out and something's not as it seems. You're pushing things out towards questionable activities. So your desire to satisfy or to do things is a little idealized, fanaticized, mystified, gullible, deceptive, dishonest. It's like you put your energy out. So you put it out just to one person or to everybody, or like, are you doing reliable things? Or you hang around with people that aren't reliable? There's many temptations that come in to corrupt or deceive. Simple, straightforward, innocent energy. It gets more complicated as you get older because do you stay loyal with a person, or do you have affairs, or do you stay at one job or do you go to other jobs? It's going to weaken. Neptune fanaticizes if you have an anger from Mars, Neptune's going to make it go way out of control. Anytime someone drinks, wow, that anger is going to come out more. Or when someone's going with a total belief, I'm doing this, I'm the good Christian, I'm doing the total Christian thing, or something, I'm going to the temple, and totally, this is what I'm doing, I'm right, everyone else is wrong. It's already set up a Neptune factor that's isolating and diminishing the use of that Mars. So everybody puts out energy, everybody has to stand up, everybody has to walk, we do things, we break things, we fall things, we misuse the energy, we have to back up, we have to learn again and evolve our energy. Not everybody's taking yoga, not everybody's developing Tai Chi, not everyone's learning to meditate to control their anger or their forcefulness. And anybody is capable, if they're cornered, is capable of violence or anger or fighting back. But if you're doing good things, straightforward things, you usually feel confidence and adrenaline from it. You don't feel guilt or sorrow from it. So there's temptations of, I'm dedicated to this, I have to go fight this cause, I have to go do this, or I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that. You can be doing your things and making everyone else guilty because they're not doing as much as you. Or you can be feeling guilty, be trying to do things that everyone else's, to answer to everyone else's guilt, or even just someone else's guilt. So Neptune being belief and vision, I got the job, but I want to build a boat. I want to do some, oh yeah, great, sure. Or I want to get the supercar and the wife's not in touch with it, or the husband's not in touch with it. But you have the dream of what you want to do. And one day you get the chance, you go for the dream, but you forgot to include the other person in it, and all of a sudden you got a big scandal.